Hello and welcome to another edition of the Alternative Sports Show. I'm your host, Andre Dixon, stuck in the bunker, still on day 2,497. We're still stuck here. I'm here with my pal, my amigo, Daniel Faluyi. How are you?
Mate, we're doing good. We're doing well. Super Bowl week. How can you not be excited?
I know. Get ready for this.
Can you not be excited?
But it's the
I don't know why you're wearing that jersey, though. I don't know why you're wearing that jersey in the first place. But we'll talk about that later.
You will find out why I'm representing the Giants at any opportunity between that and Liverpool. You just have to say it once, and then that's it. This is all Jenna's fault, by the way. But now that I've mentioned her, we are here with the amazing Jenna Harner from WPXI. How are you?
I am great. It is Super Bowl week. What's not to be excited about? Although it's kind of one of those, like, I'm so excited that it's here, and then all of a sudden we're going to be waiting again a couple months for football. So bittersweet, but exciting.
There'll be withdrawal symptoms by Wednesday, I reckon. Like, yep. Honestly,
by Wednesday, mate, it'll be by Monday. The moment it's over, there'll be withdrawal symptoms.
Well, you know what? I would say that what's happening now with the NFL is getting very much NBA like with the drama. Because remember, nothing usually happened off season, nothing really. But then now it's getting to a point where there's trades happening. There's constant news all the time. So like, we won't be suffering for news anyway for too long, because then we've got the draft coming soon. There'll be trades before that. We're going to a big trade that just happened. But let's get to know Jenna a little bit more for those who don't know. So Jenna, for those who don't know much about you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm currently at WPXI in Pittsburgh, and I actually moved here and got the job here in March when things had just all started with COVID. So I could not recommend moving to a new city and taking a new job in sports when there were no sports. It's a great time. It was a great time.
You picked a doozy there, though. But no,
timing is everything in this world. Timing.
So have you not seen any of the city? Like, much of it?
So I've been able to explore as much as I can. Like here, I don't know how it is for you guys, but like they've been like really strict with regulations, and then they've loosened them a little bit, and then it's kind of just been like a little bit of a roller coaster. So I've been getting a lot of takeout, so I could still kind of experience the local cuisine and all that, and some local businesses. It's right now it's so important. And I've been able to, it was like gorgeous in the summer. So, walked around, just kind of got like the lay of the land and stuff. So I've been exploring, but I keep saying, like, I just can't wait to eventually be in a sporting venue, whether it's Heinz Field or PPG Paints Arena where the Penguins play, and experience fans. I think that's the weirdest part about all this for me is like I've been covering sporting events and there's been nobody. It's been wild.
That's a real sports city as well. Like, it's a very fanatical city. So when the fans come back, you'll be absolutely loving it. You'll be like having a redo a fresh start again.
And that's why I'm so excited. Everyone's like, next year will be so different. It'll be like a whole, it'll be like you just moved here all over again. I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be great. So I'm super excited. But yeah, I'm originally from Connecticut, and then I just kind of bounced around starting in media jobs. So I started in Elmira, New York, which is like middle of nowhere, middle of the state. Lots of high school football, which was awesome. Just kind of get your feet wet. I was there for about 2 years, and then I spent my most recent 2 years in Buffalo, which was awesome because kind of going from Buffalo to Pittsburgh, like the same type of diehard fans. Everybody loves sports. It's like everybody on game day. You can't go anywhere without seeing like 90% of people in some sort of jersey or shirt or all that stuff, team gear. So it's awesome. It's really cool. And now just being here, kind of it's surreal. We're going through all this crazy stuff, but sports are still here, and people are still ragging on the Steelers and getting mad at the Penguins. So I'm like, okay, this is a sense of normalcy here.
So Jenna, what actually got you into sports? Because you say you started out in media. Did you start out in sports media initially, or was it media and then moved into sports?
So I dove right into sports, and it was actually really funny because I went to college, like I was dead set on being a news reporter. I loved breaking news. Like I wanted to be the one at like the house fires and the shootings and all the crazy stories. I laugh and I'm like, that was just always what I wanted to do. And when I got to college, as like my first couple weeks as a freshman, when we were like auditioning for all the extracurricular shows that they do at the TV station at school, they were like, you know sports really well and you're really good at it, so we're gonna pull you that way. And I'd never thought about it like that. I mean, I grew up, you know, both, and it's funny because now that I'm in this so much and I talk about it, I realize that the way I was brought up is not the way that everybody's brought up. But like Sundays were football in my house. Like we would get up, we would go to church, we would come home. All your homework would have to be done by 1:00 because it was time for football. And my mom's the big football fan. My dad's the big hockey fan. Like, you know, vacations as kids, we would always, you know, make sure we did some sort of sporting event. We were in St. Louis and we would see the Arch and then go to a Cards game. Like that's always what it was. So I mean, that was just, I was always raised that way and I never thought about it because I was just so set on being a news reporter that I was like, oh yeah, sports is really awesome. And I'm like,
so obviously you in sports, you mentioned you're obviously a big football fan, dad's a big hockey fan. I know you cover hockey a lot. If you had to pick one of the two sports, which one would it be?
Oh, that's a tough one. I always tell people hockey is my 1A, football is my 1B.
Okay.
I don't know. And I don't know why too. I think it was just, I don't know. I just always would watch hockey with my dad and that was kind of our thing. And I would always, you know, dad is a huge football fan and mom's a big hockey fan too, but that just, that's like their own thing too. But yeah, I don't know. Hockey, I just like have that much more of a love for, but also football is like, oh gosh, it's just the fall and football. I can't even, I get so excited about it when I talk about it because it's like, it's your entire life from, you know, end of August, September through February. I mean, that is true. What more do you want?
So we are planning, you know, post NFL season because, you know, we need to find other sports to be able to watch. I can't watch too much NBA because it's too LeBron heavy, so it gets on my nerves a bit. Too much of drama with it.
You sound like a hater right now. I'm not gonna lie.
I am so, but so I'm looking for, like, you know, to be able to get involved in hockey. So it's actually lucky we're speaking to you. So I need a team to be able to follow. Obviously, because my family are from New York, I'm gonna probably lean towards the New York Rangers. I don't think they're doing too well at the moment, but you tried to sell me a team that I should actually follow and why we should actually love hockey.
I'll say the Penguins or the Brewers. No, yeah, Penguins, yeah.
Yeah, so I covered the Penguins. Yeah, I grew up a Bruins fan, but I tell people I'm just a hockey fan just because I just love the sport. But with the Rangers, so ironically enough, they did beat the Penguins last night 3-1. So the Penguins have been dealing with a lot of injuries to their defensemen. I mean, I feel like if I see like the journalist in me wants to sell you the Penguins because of Sidney Crosby, of Evgeny Malkin, Chris Letang, the core of veterans. You know, Crosby is the greatest of at least this generation, one of, I will say, because everybody says, oh, you know, Gretzky and Mario, and understandably so, but then you put Sid in there and he's just in a whole other element. But then you have a lot of these young guys, this young talent that's coming up in the league. So with the Rangers, they do have a lot of young guys. They did have the number 1 overall pick. They got Alexis Lafreniere, who's going to be a generational talent. He's still kind of getting his feet wet. He did score his first goal the other night. So there's a lot to be excited about with the Rangers. The homer, I guess, in me would say with the Bruins, just all the talent that they have, the guys that they have. They have a lot of young guys as well. They have obviously their veterans of Brad Marchand, Patrice Bergeron. I mean, Marchand is the guy I want to find someone to equate him to in the NFL because he's the guy that you absolutely love if he's on your team. He's just like dirty, or not dirty in that sense, but he's just like hard-nosed. He's always in plays, but if he's not on your team, you're like, oh, he's dirty, he's cheap, all that, which he's not. There's some things. I don't know, did you guys hear about the whole licking story last season?
We need to see, this is the thing is because NFL takes up so much of our time, and obviously NBA and the Premier League. So you tell us who don't know about this situation.
Oh, I love this. But Brad Marchand was licking his opponents, like their face. Like this is the best reaction I've ever seen. This is amazing. Yeah, you have to look it up because it's just amazing. Like when they were lining up on the face-off circle, he would literally like lick the side of their face, piss them off, which understandably so. It was hilariously horrible. And they finally were like, yeah, you can't do this. After like 4 games, they're like, you need to stop licking people.
That's the strangest thing. I mean, definitely nowadays, that's a no-no.
Yeah.
And anyway, I mean, in life in general, it's weird. We had a soccer player called Luis Suarez who used to go around biting people, which is the weirdest thing I've still seen. But
see, biting is out there. Licking now, I'm not gonna lie to you. If I was a player, I probably would just do like, you know what? Yeah, he's trying to psych me out. I'm gonna lick him back and see what his reaction would be. I'm not gonna lie to you. You're trying to psych me out. I'm gonna lick you back, and we're gonna, a mano a mano. If you're gonna, lose your cool, then you don't do it again.
What's happened to the show?
Just saying. Just put it out there. Just put it out there. Literally, why not? You know what I mean? But so, Jen, I do have to put you on the spot a little bit. Obviously, we know NFL's massive, is big sport, is growing here in the UK as well. So is NBA, is actually growing as well. And internationally, it's a big sport as well. Why do you think hockey hasn't reached those levels? Because I've seen a game of hockey, and in terms of like sort of the spacing and the way you could pass the ball and the movement, it's very similar to football in that respect, in terms of getting into space. And obviously you've got the Mighty Ducks, which was such a great movie as well. So why do you think hockey hasn't actually grown up to, wasn't grown internationally the way it should have?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that I don't know if there's like a definitive answer, and I think a lot of people are still trying to figure that out. But I think the game kind of is continuing to grow, but it has been so dominant in the United States, in Canada, in Finland, in Sweden, in countries where, kids are raised and just like, hey, here's a stick, go play kind of thing, especially, Canada I don't want to say overseas in that sense, but, in the US, it's huge, obviously, because of the NHL in itself. And I think they are continuously trying to grow the game. I mean, before COVID, they have, like the international series where they were playing games in Sweden, they were playing games in Germany, I think they were playing games. They do, the Winter Classics at places like, Notre Dame and all these things in the stadium series, just kind of get fans that might not be into it normally, but it does have a lot more room to grow. I think that's such an important point too, is like there is so much more opportunity for people that haven't necessarily been with hockey all their lives. Like, I mean, you look at soccer, with soccer being so global, and hockey hasn't reached that. And I think they're still working on it, and it's so niche, but it can be so much bigger to grow to markets like the UK, and places that entirely it isn't. But I don't know, it's so interesting to think about. It really is an interesting discussion, actually.
We need to we're going to be bigging up the sport over here. We'll definitely be speaking to you more about that as I try to have baby steps in learning into how to be a hockey fan from afar. And then when I get to come over at some point in my life, then I'll be able to see a game live. So am I right? So I'm going to have to get a Penguins jersey as well. Yes. If you're going to get a Penguins jersey, you should get a Sidney Crosby jersey. They're the ones to get. But yeah, it's so exciting. I don't know. I'm excited that it's back. I geek out about it, but I geeked out about this the same way when I'm like, oh my God, we actually have an NFL season and it's going to be happening. So it's that same feeling of like almost Christmas morning, like, oh, this is, and the way that the schedule is this year, I'm diving too deep into niche here, but basically like the schedule, they condensed it and they're only playing there's 4 divisions and they're only playing each other this season, which is the most wild thing, because it's basically you're playing the same team 8 times and the rivalries are already heightened. Wow. And then you're just playing them again and again and again. Because Canada are saying no one's allowed over there, so the Canadian teams will just play themselves, and then the American teams will play each other as normal in the divisions that they have. Is that correct? Yeah. So Canada, so there's 4 divisions. Canada's the North, and then there's the East, the West, and the Central. And so like the Canada's just playing each other. The East Division, which the Penguins and the Rangers are in, is just playing each other. And then the way it'll work is the top 4 teams in each division will make playoffs. They'll play round robin to get to the semifinals. And so you won't see a team outside of the 8 teams you play until the semifinals, which is just going to be nuts. So what happens? So then my question is sorry. Go on. No, go on.
I was going to say my question will be then, how does that work with Canada once Once the season's over and you got the playoffs. Well, yeah, I think we got the same question. Yeah.
I think they're gonna try and figure that out. I don't know. I guess the hope is that because playoffs probably are gonna start mid-May, so they're hoping that there's some sort of progress. I could see them going to kind of like a bubble situation like we had last summer. I don't know. I'm intrigued to kind of see how they do that, but that'll there's some logistics and hurdles that they'll have to jump at that point.
Yeah, it's I mean, with the NFL, I've always been very, very proud of the fact that they've managed, no matter what, to be able to get the season pretty much running smoothly. I know they've had to like kind of move some games around, but on the most I would say of all the sports, they've definitely handled it extremely well. Obviously, they had a later start than everyone else, so they could see all the mishaps that everyone else does and say, we're not doing that. We can do something else. So definitely, I'm salute off to Roger Goodell and friends. I'll see me trying to get my corporate box when we get back in. That's the reason why I'm sucking up so much, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. So I'm going to move on to the big trade before we start talking about the Super Bowl, which is extremely exciting. Big trade, Stafford, trading with Jared Goff. The Rams had enough of Jared Goff, it seems like, and Dan kind of called it in the last, a few weeks ago, actually, about Jared Goff. We have another member of our crew, Hannah, who's a big Rams fan. So she's quite excited to be able to get Matthew Stafford. Don't think she was a Jared Goff fan, but this man in the next box has actually been speaking smack about Stafford and saying that he's no better than Jay.
Whoa.
Yeah, go on. I want you to say it, actually. You go for it.
Whoa. Let's hold up.
Are you taking this back now?
Back up. I don't take anything.
Jay Cutler. Okay? He said he's no better than Jay Cutler.
I said Matt Stafford, talent-wise, is great. But I said in terms of his ability as a quarterback, he's no better than Jay Cutler. He's basically Jay Cutler with a better arm. Because let's not lie, is Stafford really dedicated to football? I'm not entirely sure. Probably more than Jay Cutler, but Matt Stafford can't win you games. Like, even in spite of, you still get quarterbacks who are not great, but they get to the playoffs, or have a terrible organization and still get to the playoffs. Matt Stafford has really done neither. And let's not lie, he has had Megatron. We do not forget, Megatron is a Hall of Famer. He's one of the best receivers you're ever going to see in the game. Physically, probably the best physical receiver you're going to see in the game. And he wasn't able to do it. So I'll let Jenna speak because
Jenna. So I'm gonna let you call the shots on this one. Where do you sit on this Matt Stafford Jared Goff trade? First of all, like, do you think that they gave way too much for Jared Goff? Obviously, for Matt Stafford. Obviously, there's them trying to get his wages off of the bill as well, so that kind of stood into it. So I'll give you a little bit of a easier run into this because this man here is outrageous with his comments, but I'll let you take it from here.
I love it. It was so intriguing to me. Literally my first immediate thought when I saw this and I saw all that was involved in the trade was, oh my God, what is Deshaun Watson going to go for? That was where my mind went, because he's got to be worth at least 3 first-round picks, which is just, it's Deshaun Watson. It's understandable. But man, giving up 3 first-round picks, they showed what it's going to cost in this quarterback market. I would say, wait, you look perplexed over there.
It was to me, I was quite shocked that they gave away so many first-round picks, but then obviously again, they have to get that contract off of that money off of their book. So, but it is putting a lot of pressure on them to have to win now. There's no future, is now.
No, and I think that's exactly what the Rams want to do. They know that they have a lot of strengths in their organization when it comes to the pieces that they have, especially on defense. This is a definite upgrade for them, in my opinion. I think Matthew Stafford from Jared Goff to Matthew Stafford, which is so interesting because Goff and McVay were like each other's guys for so long. It felt like when he was drafted, what was that, 2016, 2015? Something around that.
I think it's 2014.
Or 14.
15, 14, 15, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like every year kind of just blends together.
What year are we in now?
I know, it's like, what day is it? What are we doing? But they were kind of each other's guys, and McVay's his football IQ, obviously his talent is incredible, but I think the Rams had some pieces that they needed to fill. Was this something, I guess it seemed like a good landing spot. I think a lot of people were like, oh, this kind of seemed predictable in a sense. It's still a surprise when you make a trade like this regardless. But I think that this kind of gives them a little bit of an upgrade. I don't know necessarily if I'm like, Stafford is the guy to win you the Super Bowl, but at the same time, it's like, I think he's a better option. I think kind of both sides fared a little bit well here. I mean, obviously, you look at Detroit, you look at the picks that they're getting, you look at, I mean, I think also Goff to Detroit is going to be interesting too, to see how he meshes into that system. I think that team has a lot of development to go and to progress on. But it's going to be so intriguing to kind of see how this shakes out when the season starts and what happens next season and just kind of how this plays out. I always love like the after fact of it and seeing like, oh, is this really worth it? And, evaluating the trade, a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road type thing.
Well, I mean,
so do you think?
Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, do you think, because obviously the Rams have given up, they've not had a first round pick since Goff, actually, incidentally. So they've given away all their first round, and it's now 7 in a row. If it goes through to, if Stafford goes to the case, I think 7 years, because Goff was actually done in 2016. So do you actually think there's merit in terms of first round picks or draft picks in general?
Yes. So, well, potentially. Yeah, I do, but it kind of depends on like who you're getting and where you're picking. I'm trying to remember when this was. I think it was coming into not this season, but the season before. I did this whole thing actually looking at the value of draft picks in the NFL compared to the NHL and how many like of these guys are huge names. The NFL first round draft picks, I mean, especially you look at the last handful of years, obviously these guys are top-notch talent, top-rate talent for sure. And that is something that Detroit definitely needs. But it depends on like, again, I feel like there's so many like variable factors with like every year coming in terms of, what position gaps you need to fill. Who are these guys that are coming in that can fill those gaps? Are these people that you want? Are they someone that's going to fit into your organization well? I think there's so many variable factors. I think first round picks, depending on exactly what position you're picking, it's always sometimes hit or miss too. In the middle of rounds, it could be, a tackle that's a big, it's a big bust or a big boom, or a guy that, you could get a really solid offensive lineman in the second, third round if that's what you need. But when it comes to these top talents, like the quarterback positions, like wide receivers, I think when you have a first round pick, those are the invaluable ones that you need as an organization. But with Jared Goff, I mean, I still think he's talented. I don't think I feel like a lot of people have been writing him off in that sense and being like, no, he's, if you look at the list of quarterbacks in the league, I'd put him in the top half of people I would say like, yeah, I want this guy to win me a game.
Yeah, it just seems like, well, I mean, because of the system that he has to play where it's like a lot of it is dink and dunk. He's had to, kind of adjust to McVay's system. And obviously, before he had that Jeff Fisher system, which is terrible for him. So I feel bad for him because, a couple of years ago, he was the one doing the Super Bowl interviews. So he got them there, he got them to the dance. And so I can't really knock him for that. But on the other hand, what I was going to ask you just finally on this subject is that, so Hannah is, as we discussed earlier, is a massive Rams fan. So I'm going to ask you, this is an unreasonable early question, but do you feel that they are contenders now for the Super Bowl? No one knows who's going to win it, but do you feel that they are serious contenders because of they got Matt Stafford?
I think they're in a better position than they were with Goff. I don't know if I'm the NFC in itself has been so interesting in general in that sense. And I love that whole aspect. Like you look at the AFC, if you're saying for years to come, who I think is going to be huge Super Bowl contenders, I'm thinking the AFC is a lot better chance of winning a lot more Super Bowls in the next handful of years just because of all those young quarterbacks. However, I think that this does put them in a good position. Again, their defense is strong in that sense, but I think there's still areas that this team needs to address for sure. But I think this puts them, in contention for one of the better and one of the top teams in the NFC. I think the Bucs are still going to be the Bucs. Obviously, we know what the Packers are. It's going to be interesting to see what the Saints look like next year. But I put them in top 5 teams in the NFC next year.
Really? She'll be happy to hear that. She'll be happy to hear that.
So wait, Jenna, you actually haven't told us who's your team, because you're from Connecticut. You haven't actually mentioned to everyone the team you support.
My team. So I don't know if you can tell by the jersey over there. I was born and raised a Giants fan, which in New England was really fun because
especially around the Super Bowls.
They won the 2 Super Bowls against the Patriots. That was really great. Like walking into school the next day with my Eli Manning jersey on, and everybody being like, "You had to do that, really?" I'm like, "Yeah, I did."
There's nothing wrong with you doing that, and it's two-time MVP Eli Manning. You see this one here. I'm just waiting. I was waiting for the hate to be inserted.
There's no hate. There's no hate.
He doesn't rate Eli Manning in any way. We had these debates all last season. For the last time that Dan's actually, since Dan's actually been on the show, he's been ragging on Eli. But what's your quick view of Danny Dimes?
Oh, okay. I'm still not entirely sold on him yet. I think he showed progress this year, which is always what you want to see. And then obviously year 3 is that year where you want to see a quarterback make a big leap. You look at a guy like Josh Allen and you see the leap he made from year 2 to year 3. Is Daniel Dimes going to have that? Absolutely not. I do not think we're seeing that big of a jump by any means, but you want to see him getting better. And I think he was Eli 2.0. And it just kind of cracked me up. Not to that sense, but when they drafted him, that's immediately where my mind went. I was like, oh my gosh. It was funny. It was such a surprise too. I don't think anybody expected that. Everybody kind of expected, why am I spacing? It wasn't Kyler, was it? It was,
yeah. What, for us to draft? No, we were supposed to. Luckily, we was actually supposed to go to the Washington quarterback. I forgot his name.
Yes,
now.
That's right. That's right. Who's actually now with the Steelers, which is
Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah, Haskins. That's right. I was like, it wasn't Kyler because Kyler was going first to Arizona. But I keep watching on repeat when he just took off down the field and then got tripped up at like the 10-yard line by himself. That to me will be the epitome of 2020 in itself.
Oh yeah, that's very true. To be fair, that was awful because there was no one around him and he just tripped. I was like, dude, come on, that was bad. But before we talk about Super Bowl, if
you have someone running after you, and I think he could hear the sound coming. He could hear them coming, and then I think he just panicked. And he just like
Trey, stop defending the inexcusable.
That was an
inexcusable play. That was inexcusable. But Jenna, before we go into the Super Bowl and your picks for the Super Bowl, tell us, obviously, look, the division, NFL, it's right. It's always a consistently, topsy-turvy division. One day you could be up, one day you could be down. Which division do you think's the worst in the NFL right now?
Like this year?
Yeah.
Oh, not the NFC East. Not even a question. The fact that, and I tweeted this too, the fact that the Giants were still in playoff contention at the time that they were at 5-10, something like that. They could be a 6-win team. It was like, it was laughable. It really was. At the same time, I'm like, I hate that I'm rooting for them. And I hate that the fact that they still have a chance. I have a Giants ornament that goes on my Christmas tree, but you can only put it on the tree. So my parents have one and then I have one now that I've moved out. But the rule is you can only put it on the tree if they're in playoff contention at the time that we decorate the tree, which they were still technically. So I could put the ornament on the tree, but I tucked it off to the side because I'm like, I can't be displaying this in the front. I can't.
And you know what I was going to ask as well, because it's kind of related, because I always feel bad that when we got our head coach and he gave his rah-rah speech, at the start, and I just wasn't buying it in any form of way. And so therefore, like, he's really, impressed me with the change in attitude of the whole team. He's really like got, I mean, our defense is improved significantly. So it seems like those methods of like taking the name off the back of the shirt and all those types of things that are considered corny, it seems to work. But what I'm just going to ask you is that, what do you reckon is the worst press conference that you've ever seen? Literally, the Eagles and the Detroit Lions have had some severely bad. I feel bad for picking on them on this, but like, which one for you do you feel was the worst out of those two?
Oh my gosh, I gotta go. I don't even want to say worse with the Lions, because it was one of those things where you're like, we're all talking about it. It's so, when you're talking about like the guy biting the kneecaps off, I'm like, oh my, I mean, as a journalist, those are the sound bites you live for. Like, that is just soundbite gold. Like, I hear that, I'm like, oh, that's going in the show. Like, that's off the top. That's exactly what we need. Like, that's grabbing your attention. That's what you want to hear. And I'm somebody too that like, I'm kind of over I mean, we all are, the traditional coach speak where, oh, it's, we got to play a full 60 minutes. We got to do this. We got to do like the cliches that are so overused and all that. So I like hearing different things. I will never forget Adam Gase's eyes in that press conference with the Jets a couple of years ago. I feel like that's just like on loop sometimes. So that's up there too.
You know what? I feel sorry for I can't think of his name, and Dan will tell me, but the new Eagles coach name. I thought the Eagles, sorry, the Lions head coach, his speech was really weird and uncomfortable. Like, he was just so graphic. I think people must have been like, where are you going with this? But here's one here. There's like a little meme that's going out for all parents when their kids is trying to tell them a story or explain something to them, and it takes them a million years to be able to get to the story. Kind of similar to me, but like, with a little bit more ums and ahs on there. That press conference at the Eagles, I can't remember the guy's name. He's still new. I was like, are you reading this out, or are you? It just seemed like he just got stuck in the mud.
No, it really did.
That was bad.
That
was a bad one.
It wasn't great. It wasn't great. And it was funny because I saw like a ton of Eagles fans just being like, really? This is the guy? Really?
Well, that's what you get. That's what you get. We shouldn't feel sorry for them, because after what their head coach did the last time was the most disgraceful thing I've seen. And these guys shushed me on the show. They said I'm just being bitter and hateful. But no, sorry. That's what you get, Eagles fans. That's what you deserve. Yeah, and that's how he's going to be reading out plays. It's going to take him the whole 20 seconds to be able to read out the play before. Oh, let me move on.
He's not going to last. He's not going to last. He's not going to last. But we're going to move on to the Super Bowl, Jay, because he's not going to last. He's not going to last. He's not going to last. You can't do that. Look, a press conference is indicative of how the head coach is going to coach. And when you see good head coaches, Sean McVay, Shah Khan, they give good press conferences. Dan Campbell wasn't surprised. I'm not gonna lie, he looks like that kind of guy that's just gonna give that kind of hoorah kind of speech, which means nothing. He's not gonna last. This Nick guy, he's not gonna last.
Who's gone first out of those two?
I'll say Nick. I think the Lions will stick at least 2 seasons. Nick will be gone. I mean, if the Lions went with Matt Patricia for that long, for 3 seasons, they will stick to the man for at least another season or 2. The Eagles won't. He's gone. But we're gonna move on to the Super Bowl, because we can rant about the Lions and Eagles all day long. Jenna, who do you have for the Super Bowl? Firstly, who's your Super Bowl pick? And do you think that we should really be classifying the Super Bowl as, basically GOAT versus baby GOAT?
I will laugh at GOAT versus baby GOAT by saying that one of the podcasts that I listened to that I love did a whole thing about like all the storylines that we're going to hear leading up to this week and everything that everybody's going to be talking about, and like making a bingo board. And that was one of them. So I'm like, yes, it's so true. And I love it. I love it. I'm going with the Chiefs, but this is going to be a close game and a really good game. I mean, the fact that Tom Brady, it was funny to me because watching last week's game, or 2 weeks ago. Wow, that feels like it was forever ago. Everybody seemed to be like, Tom Brady's really like, my gosh, he's doing it. And like, as someone who grew up watching Tom Brady, like, this is what he does. It was funny. Everybody seemed kind of surprised, like, oh, he's still doing this. Like, he's still leading these 2-minute drills. I'm like, this is vintage. This is textbook Tom Brady. This is who he is. This is what he lives for and how he, like, what he does on a, weekly basis. I'm like, have you not been watching him? Have people not been paying attention to the Bucs? I don't know. I'm going with the Chiefs just because I think that Mahomes and what he can do is fantastic. But again, if you get Brady in his zone, which I read something yesterday that it's just him in his house, like his family left his house. It's going to be him by himself for 12 days, the longest he's ever been by himself. I'm like, that almost seems like kind of like unleash the weapon for me. So I don't know. I mean, and it's like, it's already like, he already is who he is. It's just, I hate to say that I'm excited to watch him in this game, but I think now that he's not on the Patriots, you're like, okay, this doesn't feel as evil as it did. So now it's like,
coming from a Giants fan, I'm taking that with a pinch of salt.
I have problems to root for him. Like, I don't know what it is. I've really kind of tried to analyze. Obviously,
you know what it's called. You know what it's called, Dre? It's called being a hater. Of course, it's being a hater. No. The Giants and the Patriots do not like each other. This is a thing. It's like set in stone. I don't know what it is. Times.
I just, as soon as he moved there, automatically I wanted Tampa to lose. And the thing is that they were so, like, they came over a couple of years ago, and they were so nice to us. They gave us access to everything, and they couldn't be more welcoming. One of the players came on, like, literally during practice, walked on and just, kind of chilled with us for a minute with the helmet on and everything. Like, I just realized just how big those linebackers are. I can't remember which one it was, but yeah. But anyway, he was quite massive. We'll have to put up as a throwback. But I can't. There's no reason for me to root for him. So therefore, I'm going for the Chiefs. But that's because I'm a hater to anything to do with Tom Brady. I don't know why. He seems like a really nice guy. I just can't do it. Dan, who you got?
Mate, I've got the Chiefs, but not because of I hate Tom Brady. I basically said, look, from a weapons point of view, the Chiefs, the Chiefs and the Bucs, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they are just, they can match toe-to-toe receivers, defense, they can match. So for me, it comes down to coaching, because I think with the quarterback, two great quarterbacks as well. I think Andy Reid's a better coach than Bruce Arians. I think Andy Reid coming off a bye, he's got a phenomenal record. So for me, I'm going to put the Chiefs solely because of Andy Reid and nothing else. If it wasn't Andy Reid, I'll be going for Tom Brady because he's just been there, done that.
So you don't like Tom Brady too? He's just trying.
I love Tom Brady. I love Tom Brady.
A lot of marination there.
No, I love Tom Brady, mate. Don't try and stuff. No, I love Tom Brady, and he is the GOAT. And
so you're gone.
No, I was going to say Patrick Mahomes is the baby GOAT for now.
Yeah, don't count out Danny Dimes yet. Don't worry, he's on his way. You got two Giants fans on here. I'm telling you, you look out for us. Jenna, how long are we gonna have to wait for?
Moving on swiftly from that Jenna, ridiculous comment.
How long are we gonna have to wait for us to be in the Super Bowl?
Oh goodness, the defense showed a lot at the end of the season, so I was kind of really impressed in a weird way. I have to watch Steelers games. Obviously, those are the games that I watch the most. Usually, I'm at those games. So when I can pay attention to Giants games, I'm like, okay, let's see. I'm like, oh, it's a nice little surprise. You never know once they get into the playoffs. That's the thing. Like, I do not predict it coming in the next couple years by any means. I will say I don't see it in like the next 5 years, but when the Giants make the playoffs, you never know what they can do. It's like that wild card.
You got to believe it. You got to believe it, Jenna. You got to say it with belief that it's going to happen, because I'm surrounded with this hate all the time about our team, and we're going to make it. I'll tell you that now. This is the clip we're going to use.
Don't let this guy confuse you, okay? Because he was not wearing a Giants jersey throughout most of the season. He was wearing other jerseys. He's got jerseys galore. Aaron Rodgers. Now that Aaron Rodgers is out, I'm back to my Giants. Don't let him confuse you. He's a temp Giants fan.
I'm an Aaron Rodgers fan first, but like I do love my Giants. I really do. But just a couple of last questions just before we head off into the sunset. I was going to ask, like, obviously Pittsburgh, haven't done as well as they should have done. Obviously, we're predicting that they could do very well. Obviously, consider at one point they was undefeated. What's the attitude like? What's the view from the fans over there? Like, because of Juju Smith with his damn TikTok and the Corvette nonsense that he was doing, and basically also Claypool as well, the same TikTok nonsense. What's the view of those guys there?
The whole TikTok thing, first of all, that was my favorite part of this whole season, because seeing like sports writers, just from the perspective of seeing sports writers who have been in this industry longer than I've been alive, having to write articles about that. I was like, this is gold. I'm like, this is what I signed up for. This right here. It was a beautiful thing. It really was. It's so funny. So with Juju obviously becoming potentially or coming off his rookie deal, being able to be a free agent this year, I think that's going to be, there's a lot of interesting factors in terms of, are people going to sign him? Are they going to want to keep him? Is he someone that they want to keep on this team? It was really emotional when they lost, and there was a big moment between him and Ben at the end. And there's lots of questions about Ben and his future too, although some of them have been answered a little bit more. And I say that with like a little bit of a pause, but just because I think nobody entirely knows yet. But it was fans hated it during the season. But it was so funny also seeing the outside perspective, because it seemed like at the Bills game, everyone was like, oh, he's been doing this all, or, why is he doing this just there? And it's like, no, he's been doing this all season. Like he does it on the Steelers logo. He does it at midfield, which is just where the logo happens to be. And then I think everybody kind of, with the Bengals, it became this big thing that for that game. I just laughed. I'm like, I thought this was so
until he got popped like a rock'em sock'em robot, then that's that stopped him from doing it from then on. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it should. It's something that is just give these guys that are and I always say this to all of our American fans. You guys have different species of men over there. Like they're not. We are normal sized over here. You guys over there. No, they will pick you up like I have never seen people just consistently so big all the time. So they're already angry and hyped up. You don't need to give him something else to be able to pop you. It's something I've never ever seen. I saw DK Fluker. Is that his name? I probably got it wrong, but anyway. But Fluker, anyway, he used to be for your Seahawks, and he is the biggest man I've ever seen in my life. I can't imagine giving him more fuel to be able to just knock me into the air. Like that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, fueling these guys. That was the funniest part about it. And it was funny because everyone's like, oh, why isn't Ben addressing this? Why don't the guys in the locker room know? It's like, the older guys on the team, like Ben isn't really, he's on Twitter, but it's also like he is somebody that does his Twitter. It's not entirely him. So it's like, he's not really on social media. A lot of these older guys aren't on social media. A lot of, I'm not even on TikTok. A lot of these people are like, oh, TikTok. It's like, they don't even know what it is really. So that was kind of funny in itself. But I mean, you hate that those antics, you hate what they do, but then as fans, it's like, okay, but look at all the third down plays he converted that eventually went to touchdowns for Chase Claypool. Like, look at what he was able to do his rookie season. It's like, you might get frustrated with some of the stuff that they do in that sense, but would you rather have them on your team or not?
One last question on that one, because obviously you cover the Pittsburgh Steelers. Is Big Ben reviewed as a good leader in that organization and among fans?
It's interesting because since me moving here this year and seeing his perspective in that sense and seeing just the way the whole season kind of played out, he he is in that sense, especially with his offense, because I think obviously, you know, he's a future Hall of Famer. They know who he is. They know what he's done. This offense also was really young, especially the receiver core. Like Juju was the most experienced receiver that they have, which in itself is like that, and it is crazy. So having him, you know, having Ben be that guy that, you know, as I'm sure you guys saw, if you saw any of the games, but like towards the end of the season, you would see Ben kind of just like scrap everything and be like, all right, we're all going empty. We're going to do this. You know, hey, Chase, you're here. Juju, you're here. Like changing plays on the fly, and then just, you know, throwing a deep ball downfield and getting it for a touchdown because sure, that was how the offense went towards the end of the season. But in that sense, I think earlier in the season he was, and then I think when the problems started to come apart, and I think fans had a lot of questions of, you know, oh, is he done? Should he be out? And then, you know, with the way that the playoff game against the Browns went with the interceptions and all of that, and some of the choice questions, I think there were some questions there from the fans, not more of, is he a good leader? Is it just like, is it time for him kind of thing? But I mean, Ben Roethlisberger is Ben Roethlisberger to this city, to these guys. And it's so interesting. I mean, obviously he's been such a cornerstone here for, you know, since 2004. So the next couple of years will be very interesting to see kind of how things change and how things pan out in that sense.
We'll see if they're going to move on from Ben, because I still have yet to forgive him for making me endure another week of the Browns. But I'm not going to go into that. I've decided to make peace with the Browns and everything to do with them. I've been ranting about them all year, so I won't be doing it anymore. Jenna, tell people where they can find you on social media, so forth.
Oh, awesome. You can follow me on Twitter at Jenna Harner 11. Right now, lots of hockey tweets. So if you want to get into it, hey, I got you covered. Hockey and Bachelor right now is like my shtick. It's great. It's a good time. And then you can follow me on Instagram at Jenna_Harner. And then you can check us out on WPXI.com. We got a lot of digital stuff, a lot of social stuff, but I usually share that to Twitter and Instagram and things like that. So thank you guys so much for having me. This was awesome, by the way.
Honestly, we hope you're gonna come back on pretty soon, and then we can talk more hockey and any other sport except for basketball, because you know, I'm sick and tired of the LeBron stuff. Like, you know, like you know, you all are too. You just don't want to admit it because the beehive that is the LeBron fans will come after you. Guys, thanks for spending time with us again. Thanks for watching and listening. Check us out on Alternative Sport on Instagram, and then also Sport is on vergemagazine.co.uk. We'll be putting this interview with the lovely Jenna on here, and many more, and we'll be getting her back. Don't worry, we'll keep on tagging her in pictures until she comes back on. Don't worry. But until then, you know, we will see you guys on the next episode of the Alternative Sports Show. Peace.